Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look through the top 10 most valuable vintage Penguin books. So sit back, relax, and let's get to it. Okay then, so at number 10 is this one, The Second Shot by Anthony Berkeley. Now, in all honesty, there could have been another 10 or so books that have come in at the number 10 slot here, which an estimated value on this one is about £300. Now, Penguin collectors have always had a problem picking up the crime titles, and particularly the crime titles that were published pre-Second World War. However, the ones that were published during the war, sort of late 1941, 1942, up to 1945, are amongst the most valuable. The crime books that came before that, some of them in wrappers, are actually worth less because they've survived. And the reason those earlier crime books have survived is because they're just printed on better paper. So if you look at this very, very delicate book here, you'll see that the quality of the paper is it's wafer thin. And that's because Britain at the time was going through severe paper rationing, and publishers like Penguin had to eke out their supply. So this particular one was published in May 1943, and it's not long after the Blitz, and as you can imagine, printers and warehouses and even publishers were all getting hit with bombing, and there was fires everywhere, and copies of books such as this, they're very low print runs, sometimes as low as 25,000. They would be gobbled up as soon as they got published. They'd be read and reread, they'd be down in the shelters, and for any copy at all from this sort of period to survive is, well, quite frankly, amazing. So that is why these books today are very, very sought after. The other key thing, of course, is Penguin books. You see this one's numbered 409. All their books are numbered, and it's the same sort of desire from collectors, say, who collect the first 100 Spider-Man books or comics. They want to collect the first 100 Penguins, or the first 1,000 Penguins, or in my case, the first 3,000 Penguins. We're absolutely nuts, but we're completists. And that's what makes even the most obscure books in the Penguin list, such as crossword books and things like that, sought after in their own sort of way. So, as I said, there was lots of books that could have easily gone in around the £300 mark, but this one did sell recently, so we do have actual data to sort of cross-reference this, and a copy of this sold for £300. So next we've got book number 9 in the top 10, so the 9th most valuable Penguin title, and it's actually Penguin Books number 6, and it's The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. And this one was published in July 1935, along with the first 10 Penguins. And it's obviously the first ever Agatha Christie in Penguin. And it's collectible because it's a very early Agatha Christie paperback, not the first. Those were published by Albatross. They published 10 Agatha Christies before Penguin came along in paperback. But it's the first one after that. And although the real reasons aren't sure, because this was published and then it had 2 more reprints, it was replaced with a number 6A, which is Murder on the Links, in March 1936. And then this one gets re-released later on in the run as number 61, as like the 4th printing, which is the first at number 61. But this one here is the very, very first one. Now, this would have come in a dust wrapper originally, and mine sadly doesn't have that. But it is, apart from that, a complete sort of copy. And one in this similar condition, in fact, it was actually a little bit worse the wear than this one, actually sold for £350 recently. I would estimate that a really, really fine one in a fine dust wrapper could go as much as £500 or even more. Obviously, you've got Agatha Christie collectors, you've got Penguin book collectors, and it's just a rare pre-war crime title and highly sought after. So that's book number 9. So number 8 in our top 10 rarest books is this one, Murder at the Admiralty by Eric Bennett. Now, this is numbered 497 in the Penguin main series, and after this, the crime titles in the early 500s are much more reasonably priced. You can find them for say £10 to £15, and you'd be doing very well. This was sort of the last one which suffered the atrocious paper rationing, as you can see. Now, I was quite lucky with this one. I got this one quite cheaply off eBay. In fact, I think I paid about £40 for it. However, it was in a real state and I had to do an incredible job on it to restore it. But I got a friend of mine to pop on a brand new spine. So we scanned a spine from one of my original Penguins, and then he was able to pop on, in the vintage Penguin style, a fake spine for me. So on the shelf it looks really, really nice. But that one there has had restoration. But once again, it's exactly the same. It's a wartime crime title, under 500, and very, very rare. And this one, best estimates on this is about 350 for this one. Now, number 327, I don't actually own, so that's another example. I'm only missing about 6 for the first 1,000, and this is one of them. And it's Full House, published in May 1942, and a lot of people believe this one to be the scarcest, if not the most sought after, regular orange fiction main series Penguin. Lots of people say that this is almost the last one that they have to find when they complete their sets, so it is what it is. I've not got one to show you, but obviously you've got the picture there to look at. Next then, quite a famous one, but not the most valuable. So here we are, it's W.E. Johns, and it's Biggles Flies again. So this was Penguin number 348. So this is the only other sort of orange fiction title we'll see today. And this is notoriously expensive because it's a Biggles book, and there's lots of collectors of W.E. Johns and Biggles titles. It's also incredibly thin. It was published during the war. There was only ever one printing of it, you know, because some of these other books did have a second printing or third later on, and that for some collectors will do. But this one only ever had the one run, and I don't actually know if it even has the, yeah, it doesn't even have the printing details inside, but it was only the one edition of this one ever published. And it's super, super sought after, this one, and well, best guess, the last time one of these went on online, it sold for £500, that one. And as I said, these are actual selling prices. This is what the books have sold for. I think we'll just put these spine on, so we've got a little bit to look at. So the next book we've got then is The Nebula Coat by John Mead Faulkner. Now this one is, and always has been, one of the real rare books, and they even made a mistake on the spine numbering, because on the spine there it's numbered 437, and the original number, which I believe was 429, they made a mistake on, and they just blocked it out with that little bit of black there. Very, very unusual. It's a little bit more substantial than some of the other thin little volumes we've seen. It's over a couple of 100 pages, and in all honesty, this is actually a terrific copy of this one. Here's the little see the nice wartime advert there, the stuff to give the troops. July 1943. It's a very, very scarce book, and yeah, nice copy of that one as well. So the Nebula Coat, and I almost can't believe it when I say it, but copies of this are selling for £500 now for this little paperback. Absolutely crazy, but that's what they're selling for, so I'm just reporting, and even I'm amazed at what some of these are fetching. Next book then is number 470 in the main Penguin series. There we are, number 470 on the spine, and it's Never Come Back by John Mayer. So as you say, it's just another wartime crime book. This one's a beautiful copy, absolutely beautiful. 1944 this particular one was published. Just got a little turned over corner there we are. Yeah, very nice copy of this. I'm very pleased with this one. I've had it quite a while. Nothing really more to say. It's 1944, it's super rare, it's wartime, it's a crime, and there's a lot of people looking for this particular book to finish their collections. The last time a copy came up for sale, and I'm not kidding, it was hammered absolutely hammered, it went for £600. It's just crazy, but that's what this one sold for. The thing is, you may well come across this. I mean, although it had a very low print run, and you may not see it in that nice condition, they're out there. All of these are out there. So at number 8 then is another one that I've not got, and it's Artifex Intervenes. So it was published in June 1943 as Penguin number 410. Actually got printed in May 1943, and it's just another real scarce crime title. I saw the copy come up online, and I saw the price, which was £599.99, so £600, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to pay £600 for one of the ones I need, because I know for a fact if I pay that, I'd just come across one the very next week for a lot cheaper. But even so, it was only up for maybe 2 or 3 days, and it went on a buy it now for £600. So that's Artifex Intervenes. In the coveted number 9 slot then is this one, Cutthroat. A great title, isn't it? And this is Penguin 407. Once again, very, very scarce. My copy of this is very delicate. I got it dirt cheap. October 1942. I can't remember exactly what I paid for this one, but it was maybe £10-15, something like that. I thought, well, it's got no back cover, but the book was all there, and I thought, well, I could always put a back cover on, possibly from a donor book, and I might consider doing that. But to be honest, this one is so rare. I mean, it really, really is. I didn't realise how rare it was, but the copy online, which went recently, was once again, admittedly it was all there, it had a back cover, but it was still in a poor old state, not much better than the copy that we've got here, and that one went for £750. Bananas. But how rare is it? Well, evidently super rare. So the rarest of all the main series Penguins is this one. So this is Penguin book number 1, but usually Penguin number 1 is in the blue, the dark blue biography colours, because it's a biography title. However, before the Penguins came out in July 1935, so a few months before, Alan Lane, who worked at the Bodley Head, he produced these dummy editions, and that's what this is. So it's the advanced copy of Ariel, and they did it in the green crime colours rather than in the familiar blue that this one would be known for. So this is almost like a pilot or a proof edition, and although my copy is very, very fragile, it is all there, and it is a super, super rare book. It just says 1935. There's a little bit of writing inside. I'm not going to flick through too hard, but I don't know whether that would be by the publisher or one of the reps. I don't know. But you can sort of fantasize, I guess, that this was like passed around within somewhere like Woolworths, who took a lot of the early Penguins and said, look, we got these books coming in. There's going to be 10 titles. This is going to be the format. And it would have felt so new and fresh back then. If you'd never seen like the Albatross books, which was literally the only thing that was close to the vintage Penguins at that time, these would have seemed, really, really fantastic. So the best estimates are that Penguin produced possibly 10 or 12 copies in total of this book to hand around, and of those, 3 are known to exist. This is one of them. The other 2 are both with collectors. There isn't a copy in the British Museum. There isn't a copy in Penguin's own archives. So putting a price on something like this is obviously quite a difficult thing to do. However, personally speaking, if I was to pop this online, I wouldn't even think of pricing it less than £2,500, and I might even put it out for more than that, because even if you've got one of the greatest Penguin collections in the world, Penguin themselves don't even have that, and it is a true rarity. So one to keep your eyes out for. So that's the top sort of 10 rare books, but I thought I'd put in a few honourable mentions for titles that I think are rare and ones that you should sort of keep your eyes peeled for. So we've got a few honourable mentions for books that I think you should keep your eyes peeled for, because once again, these are quite valuable, but perhaps the demand for them isn't quite the same because they're so obscure and they're so rare. There's not that many people who are actually trying to put collections of these together. So the first two we'll look at are these. So these are what we call prisoner of war editions. So there was basically most of the publishers around this time produced services editions, and these turn up, and depending on the title, they can range from anything from say £10 to £15 up to a few hundred if it's say a rare crime title. Now, apart from the services editions, they did produce the Prisoner of War book service, and you can tell a Prisoner of War one because inside the front cover it will have there the Prisoner of War book service. You see it's quite a list of them there. There's a fairly definitive list published by the Penguin Collectors Society, but these books, if you think about their history, so they were printed during the war, so they've already got the pedigree of having very, very thin paper and potentially super low print runs, and we are talking potentially 10,000 to 15,000 copies of some of these books. They've had to survive being sent potentially to a prisoner of war camp, be passed around the various inmates who had literally nothing to do except read as a pastime, and then amazingly it's managed to get back to England and into sort of my collection. You have to think its journey is well, incredible. So these two here are both Prisoner of War Book Club titles. Now this one here is even more amazing because the book in question, The Tunnellers of Hosmindon, is actually a book on escape from prisoner of war camps, German prisoner of war camps in the First World War. And of course, the Germans probably didn't even realise what they were looking at here because it was all in English rather than German. So they probably didn't pick up on the titles that were going in. And British prisoners in the Second World War were using this as a Bible full of ideas on how to escape from German prisoner of war camps that was achieved in the First World War. I mean, absolutely quite incredible, to be honest. Although, when I've read this book, it is a bit more gentleman's agreement, with them actively, rather than the Second World War, with prisoners actively trying to escape. But even so, the fact that that got selected as a title, as a prisoner of war release, is just incredible. So, prisoner of war titles, just flick inside. The giveaway is basically their fragile nature. And they really don't turn up that often. I do love them. I've only got a smattering because there's no way you're going to get them all, but it's just nice to have a few representations of some of these rare books. And the same goes for this. So it's a similar thing again, and this is called the Forces Book Club. So the Forces Book Club was something that was organised so that if you had a relative who was overseas, you could send a subscription of 10 books every month out to them for them to read. And it was a real mixture of stuff. That was like a fiction title. That was actually a pelican, the Chinese. And each month had a different colour. So this is actually from the final month, month number 12. And these are actually the only two that I've got. There's plenty out there, but they produced 120 in total of these, so 10 for each month. I say there's plenty out there. They are out there, but they are very, very expensive when they turn up. Even the most common title these days is the best part of £100. There we are, that's the selection there. And that's in nice condition. These are obviously hammered, but I've had them for years. That one, in fact, only cost me £5 when I was very early on in the perhaps late 80s when I started collecting Penguin books. It's lovely to have, don't get me wrong, but they're just super, super rare. So they've all got the Forces Book Club, and they come in different colours, so yellows, reds, greens. They're all out there, and apparently nobody has got a full set of these, but I know of a couple of collectors who've got very good runs of them. I don't think they're complete, but they've got perhaps nearing 100 or so. So fantastic, really. It's the ultimate penguin collection. These don't exist in the British Library. Penguin themselves, I don't think have got any in their archive. They are super rare. There's perhaps, once again, no more than 10 to 15,000 absolute maximum titles published. So they're very, very scarce. And if you ever come across them, keep your eyes peeled. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed looking through these super rare penguin books. As I said, the demand for these is perhaps not massive, but because the books are so scarce and there are lots of people who collect vintage penguin books, there's always going to be a market for some of this. And it's just, hopefully this has given you an idea of the sorts of titles to keep your eyes peeled for. Wartime crime, a couple of odd fiction titles, and any that were produced specifically for the armed forces during the war, Forces Book Club and prisoner of war issues, that sort of thing, always going to be sought after and, very, very valuable. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed that and hope you feel educated and you know what to keep an eye out for going forward. Thank you very much for watching today. Do please hit that subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback content, and I shall look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.